The Wednesday Week, the Sheffield Wednesday Fan Podcast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday Week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. My name's Eddie, and I am hosting this week, which is always a recipe for mediocrity. However, there are people who will help us increase the quality of the podcast, and they number three. First of all, we have Daniel Fudge. Dan Fudge, are you there, sir?
I am here after many a technical issue and after me trying to entice Vic to go for a usual, we've just started recording, let's go for a wee. And it was me that was late on. So that's nice, isn't it? Are you all right, Ed?
I'm good. So was it the length of the wee that caused the technical problems, or were you just pissing on your computer?
Well, I believe that piss and computers don't mix. So I heard this on I think I'd seen it on a piss website at some point. You know what I mean? So, but that, we don't want to go down that route just yet.
Are you recording the back of your Nova again?
Yeah, why does it sound like it? Does it sound like I'm miles away?
A piss website.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Right. This every time I'm not a particularly good disciplinarian here, because everyone else has come in and spoiled the surprise that Victoria is also here. Vicky, good evening.
Don't call me that. Why would you call me that? Yeah, hi. I haven't pissed on any computers tonight, so who's winning now, Fudge?
James, how are you, sir?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably not the best start to a podcast we've ever done, although I'm thinking back to about 10 seconds before we actually started the podcast, and you went, is everyone here? Is everyone happy? Oh, no, is everyone ready? Is everyone happy? And I'm thinking, probably not really, to be honest. No. Should we just not bother this week? Should we skip it?
Oh, no, there's plenty to talk about. I know it's not easy at the moment. Being a Wednesday fan, it's even less easy being a Wednesday fan who then has to talk about Sheffield Wednesday for upwards of 40 minutes a week. But there is plenty going on, and there is no point us not being here because we have a wonderful sponsor in the form of the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane. So on a match day, that is a happy place to go. It doesn't matter what is happening on the pitch or behind the scenes at Sheffield Wednesday. It is the best place to get fine food and fine drink, and that's where we will always be. And we were there.
Can I just confirm that as of this weekend, they are open throughout the game as well? Because a lot of the guys went back at half time on Saturday, and they were still open. So if you're in dire need of a fine at 45 minutes, Catch Bar Lane, there you go.
And let's be honest,
why would the ultimate indictment of how bad our season is? The fact that they're now open during the match because people just can't be asked going.
Look, and let's be honest, there is no finer example of that than Saturday and the Rotherham game. James, let's start at about 2:00 on Saturday afternoon. The lineup came out, and we needed to make a statement, didn't we? It's a local derby. There is pride at stake, if not anything else. And let's forget about points for a minute. This was a big game locally, and the side that we named. How did you feel? So that Zhao and Nuyu back together up top. Okay, they've not been the most productive, but is that the best that we have to offer up top? Going forward, how did you see the lineup once it was announced?
I think I'm gonna struggle this season to get excited with any lineup that's got Atinuyu in it because it's not his season, is it? And even his most staunch fan, who interestingly is on the podcast with us this evening, would have to concede that he's just having a bit of a nightmare of a season and nothing's happening for him. So is it our best, most productive combination up front? I bloody hope not, because it doesn't say a great deal for what else we've got. What we really need to do actually is find some way of getting Fletcher and Zhao playing well together, because they're our best two strikers. We've got this issue with Fletcher whereby he can't really play more than 2 games out of a month. because his fitness level is never going to be good enough again to be able to manage more than that. You've got the issue with Zhao, and I know we'll probably talk a bit more about this later on, about the fact that you kind of get game on, game off with Zhao. He's great for a game, and then he just doesn't turn up for the next one. So I don't know. Is it possible for us to have a best combination up front? Because are we ever going to get to a point where two of our strikers are playing well at the same time, or even two of our strikers that can play well together are actually fit at the same time? I don't know. How does everyone else see it?
Which dead strikers do we have, like, that are strikers but are dead? So it's like Gary Hooper. Is he actually dead? Like, is he injured? I can't remember now. It's gone.
Mark Hooper and Trimmer from the 1930s. They're definitely dead.
But we do have a couple of strikers, don't we? But they're just defunct, aren't they? They're just waiting on the redundancy package, on sick leave. Like, is there only Hooper? I can't think who else there is. Oh, Jordan Rhodes, he's gone, hasn't he?
Well, there's Hooper and Winnall, isn't there? And yeah, Hooper is injured. I don't think we'll see Hooper again. Certainly this season, I don't think we'll see him again in a Wednesday shirt, because he played a bit, didn't he, for the under-20 whatevers, and then picked up a knock, and he's had to go for another operation now. They're all the hallmarks of someone who is just crocked, unfortunately, which is a shame, because he's an extremely good striker. He's the best striker we've got. And Winnall, again, was close, wasn't he? And then he seemed to have another setback, and no one really has heard anything about that. So I think we were told beginning of January, was it, last we heard for Winnall?
Yeah, there was an article, I think, was it today? They released an article. They spoke to Sammy Winnall. I think it's in the Star, that they spoke to him, and he says it's the most hardest thing he's had to go through in his football career, and he will play again. He's desperate to it. But I think, yes, January, and I think end of January was the time that was earmarked for him.
So I suppose what I was getting at is, given the embarrassment of poverty at the striker position that we have, it seems like Lucas João is the one player who potentially could score goals. So is Ati Nuhiu the best player alongside him to enable those goals to be scored? Because honestly, any other combination just looks pretty moribund. And, João, yeah, like you say, he has a game on, a game off. But when he has a game on, it's an actual game on, and he scores goals. So is there something about having Nuhiu beside him that leads to a better performance from Lucas João that we don't get when Fletcher is beside him, for instance?
It's possible, isn't it? Because there were those games at the back end of last season where Nuhiu and João were our front two, and they were scoring goals between them. Nuhiu kind of more so than João. Now we're in a situation where João's certainly scoring goals, and actually, you look at his record this season; it's pretty good from the appearances that he's made, the number of goals that he's scored. But we all actually see the fact that he can be quite a frustrating player. I don't know. I wonder. The problem with this sort of thing is when you look at our team and what's going on, is you think, right, should we be playing Nuhiu alongside João, or actually should we just stick another central defender in there? Let's try and keep it to 0 at that end of the pitch, and then we've got a better chance of actually winning some games. So I don't know who should we play instead of Ati Nuhiu? Tell you who. Sam Hutchinson. Stick Sam Hutchinson in there, and I think we'd have a better chance of winning games.
So I don't think anyone can disagree with the idea that we're lacking up top and we're looking for answers. At the back has been as questionable, and as the game went on, both of those things were writ large, weren't they? So there was a chance for Adam Reach, probably the first proper chance that we had, that I think it was wasted. He didn't get hold of it. At the other end, Rotherham got some play. There was a great save from Cameron Dawson at the other end, and Rotherham had their chances in the first half. When the goal came, I wouldn't say it was against the run of play, but it was certainly against the run of how Wednesday play. It was almost a little callback to the way that Carvalho used to use João, where we had an early ball. He used his pace and his strength to get past the defenders and finish. How much of that is this is how Wednesday should play now? When teams aren't waiting for us to press them, now, and they're going to come on to us a little bit more. And how much of that was just a complete fluke, long ball out and a mistake by the defender? Fudge, is that a blueprint for success this season, or was that just a fluke in a pretty awful first half performance?
Absolutely, Hundy P, the latter. I think he's just boshed it, and he's boshed it. It's as simple as that. There was no contrite reason behind how we scored that goal. It was like, that's going in that net, and that's it. It's as simple as that. There's an element of fluke to it, but you've still got to be pretty skillful to get it in. There is absolutely no way on earth that the mustachioed maestro has told him to do that or pass that knowledge on to the team. It's just not happened. It's just not the way he plays football, and it's probably like muscle memory for the players to score a goal like that. That's all it is. No, I don't think we tried to do that. No, God, I'm a miserable bugger.
Well, so put it another way, do we think Yossi's going to look at that and go, "Oh bloody hell, that seemed to work. Maybe we should be knocking direct balls from deep and playing on the break going forward"? Because that's something we've not done in best part of 2 seasons, isn't it?
No, I agree with you, and I don't think he will learn from that because Josh Lukai seems to have purchased these 2 plastic fingers that sit in his ears and play "La La La, I'm Not Listening" over and over again, and they come with some rose-tinted spectacles as well. So I don't think he will have learnt from it. No.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. So that it was 1-0, went into half time. I think everyone felt like pretty lucky, but we'll take it. And Rotherham didn't really show anything much. We came out in the second half, and if there has been an archetype, a blueprint for how Wednesday start a second half, this was absolutely, this was perfect, wasn't it? 20 seconds to the point where if you watch the highlights on YouTube, the short highlights, in a 2-minute video, they find the time to actually show the second half kickoff and then the build up to Rotherham's equaliser, which comes 21 seconds into the second half. Obviously, we were caught cold again for the 36th time this season. James, could or should we have done any more in that situation, or was that just literally falling asleep across the entire team?
It was something that we've actually seen quite a few times that happens this season, whereby we just aren't awake enough. And Fudge and I touched on this a little bit last week about how Blackburn had done their research and know that we're quite susceptible when we've just scored. We're quite susceptible when we've just kicked off because we just don't seem to, brain just doesn't seem to engage collectively as a team. And this is probably quite unfair. I just kind of feel that maybe we just don't have a particularly, you talk about intelligent footballers. Maybe we just don't have an intelligent team. We're just really lacking that intelligence through the team. And sometimes like collectively, we just get caught out.
I always feel like, in the morning when you get to work, and like I get off the tram at work and I walk down towards my office and I think, nah, do you know what? I need to go and get a coffee from the Diamond. Like I need to go and get a brew. And sometimes you don't. And then you spend your entire day just half asleep at your desk. And I feel like we just need to get them all a coffee before we kick off for the second half. Because it is literally like no one's woken up at all, have they? It's just, ugh.
Well, it's all like they've been to the Riverside Cafe at half time, had a pint and a basket of chips, and they're feeling a bit lethargic and a bit tired. It is like Friday afternoon in the office where everyone's been out for a pub lunch because we just don't get up and get at it. And the second goal, I don't know, Vic, can you put any blame on anyone else other than Dawson for the second goal? Could we have actually stopped that move before a guy took a speculative shot and it snuck underneath a keeper who was clearly, asleep and full of chips?
It was bad, wasn't it? It was. We've all stuck up for Dawson a lot this season, and rightly so. In fairness, I think we've all stuck up for him with very, very good reason. That was unfortunate. It was something that every goalkeeper dreads, and it it happened, But we also have to look at the fact that we've said before, he'd made the most saves in the league, and because he's got a shite back four in front of him, but he had made the most back.
No, Vic, hang on a minute. No, hang on. You said he'd made the most saves in the league, and we went, that's bollocks. It's because he's had the most shots against him. Of course he has.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah, well, of course he's made the most saves in the league. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he
Alisson
has.
at Liverpool's made less saves than Cameron Dawson. Don't mean he's a better goalkeeper.
No, I'm not saying that, but I mean he has stood up and he's made those saves when he's had to. He unfortunately made a mistake on Saturday that I think had he have had the season that he could have had, Westwood had 3-4 years ago, I don't think anyone would have pointed out that as a big mistake. Would have all gone, well, shit happens. The fact that he's in front of a very, very poor defence, a very poor defensive midfield, a very poor two strikers, to be fair, I think it was always going to stand out as a moment. Yes, it was awful. Yes, it was a professional mistake. It happens to every keeper at some point. He made that mistake. It just so happened to be at a point that he really didn't need the spotlight on him.
I'll tell you what, sorry, Eddie. You mentioned Westwood there, Vic. Did you see the top shithousing from, is it Sky Sports or Sky Bet today, who for literally no reason just went, here's a Kieran Westwood montage. Do you know what I mean?
This guy wins games, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. I've got no idea. Unless, they literally, they must have queued this tweet
just
up.
Let David
in like
Garrido on Twitter for a little bit.
Yeah. It just went full troll mode. And I just thought, we've got this brilliant video montage of Kieran Westwood being the best keeper in the Championship. Let's twist the knife a little bit and post it now. And we'll talk a little bit about why Kieran Westwood's in the news a little bit later. But yeah, do they hate Cameron Dawson? Maybe Sky Sports have got a cheeky bet on Dawson. I don't know, in the game. I don't know. That was very, very fun. But irrespective, that it was an error and it left us behind the eight ball a little bit. We changed things around a little bit. We kind of went, we're going to play 5 at the back. We're going to now play 4 at the back for a bit, and then we go back to 5 at the back. And in amongst all of this ridiculous defensive changing that was going on, we got a cross in. Zhao got away from his marker, headed one in. 3 goals now for Zhao, a left foot, a right foot, and a header. 2-2. Zhao is clearly the complete striker physically. James, we have just talked about him a little bit, but you can see that he can do it, and you can see that he loves playing the game and loves scoring goals, and he's still like a little kid and he's quite giddy when he scores. What is he lacking that means that he is not only the first name on our team sheet, but in amongst the discussions about being the best striker in the Championship?
What is he lacking? I mean, I think he's lacking being played consistently in a position that he can kind of really kind of learn. But I think it's a bit more than that. I think what he's probably lacking at the moment is a bit of a mentor. And it's interesting you talk about the fact that he's still young. He's not actually. He's not still young at all in footballing terms. He's he should be at a point now where he is kind of coming into his own. But I think the way that the kind of player that he is, and we all kind of see these tendencies in him, that he can drift out of games and he can sulk a little bit. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that just means that he needs a bit of an arm around him from time to time. He needs a bit of a mentor, and I think he needs it off the pitch, behind the scenes, and I think he needs it on the pitch as well. And, we've kind of bemoaned the lack of leadership that we've got kind of across the board this season. And I think that's probably what's kind of leaving Zhao a little unpredictable, a little inconsistent, at times a little bit anonymous is the fact that kind of the qualities that he really needs from within a team that he's part of are really lacking at the moment.
Yeah, and so we got it back to 2-2, and there were chances. To be fair, chances for either side to win it. Newey had a real chance where he slid in, kind of spooned it over, but we didn't really apply any more pressure than was absolutely expected in order to try and win the game. It finished 2-2 in isolation. It was probably a fair result. It leaves us 17th, and it's a failure to win at home against a local rival who shouldn't be fit to lace this team's boots. So, it has to go down as another underperformance, doesn't it? Vic, so we know that Dave Chansiri is going to be coming back in the country after prolonged absence out. Jos has been asked many times in the local press about his future, etc. If you were Jos now, do you feel that Dave is coming in and just like Carlos Carvalhal this time last year, do you think he's coming back wielding an axe?
To be honest, we were talking about this in the pub the other day, and we were saying about how many other jobs could you go in and go, do you know what? Yeah, this is my salary. Yeah, I'll sign a 5-year deal. Yeah, if I fuck up, you'll just pay me off. It doesn't happen, does it? So he's not going to be shitting himself by any means whatsoever. The guy's not bothered. And I don't know if it's been lost in translation or whatever, but I think his post-match comments have been appalling, absolutely appalling. And I was very cautious with Carlos. I was very sort of, I saw the good in him a lot more than probably I should have done. But I think that Jos's comments this week have been absolutely disgusting to a fan base, to accuse us of what he's accused us of and to say that we're living in the past and whatever else. We are living as people that are paying out £600, £700 a season to go and watch that shite. So if the axe does come down, brilliant. I don't think either of us will be upset if it does. I think he's going to get a few quid in his back pocket, and we're going to get probably screwed over by financial fair play. James is the one to talk about that. Maybe it'll come down, maybe the axe will fall, but I do wonder, why does it need Dave Chansiri to come back? Should it not be up to Katrien? If she is the CEO, should it not be her job to do that sort of thing? Does she have that power? And if not, does she, as a strong business person, does she not want to go somewhere that she does have that power and not have to wait for a boss to come home?
I think we've discussed this before on the show, and I think there's been a lot of rumours, hasn't there, about what a control freak Dave Chansiri is. He wants to be involved in everything. Like I spoke to a guy who wanted to sell T-shirts at the Megastore, and they didn't get an audience to get in there because Chansiri was going to be away for the next 6 months. So there seems to be a level of that with him. I mean, bear in mind the guy's the CEO of a huge company as well. He's his own company. He's got a lot going on. And when it comes to picking the T-shirts for the Megastore, or even to the extent of the fortunes of his football team, like he's probably got other things to worry about, like making money to keep this football team alive. But there is an element that has been muttered around a lot, especially the last few years, of that he's a bit of a control freak and wants to be involved in every single decision that's made around the club, even down to the colour of the seats and what's written on what the white chairs spell out and all that sort of stuff. But I agree with you, Vic, as well. The comments from Jos are absolutely incredible, especially a fan base as volatile as ours. I mean, when we've got the mug on, we're some of the worst fans in the country. But when we're bouncing, we're absolutely incredible. There's nobody like us, even though Leeds probably would have took more. But, for him to blame us, for him to go, it's your fault. It's your fault. You're getting on the crowd's back. It all falls on your shoulders because the last 2 or 3 years are in the past. Well, if only we had the same players from the last 2 years. Can you imagine if we had players like
Bannon,
Westwood and Hutchinson and Zhao? Do you know what I mean? Like We've still got the same players. How dare we expect success from the same players that got us to two
I
playoffs?
think the thing for me,
do you know what I mean? Absolutely
it shocks
insane.
me more than anything because me and James have met Catrienne with Rich at the film premiere, and she is a very strong, very, very powerful woman, and she has obviously done very well for herself, like female, male, whatever. She's done very, very well for herself in football. Obviously, she was thrown under the bus at Charlton. We'll let that slide. But she is obviously a great footballing businesswoman, business person. And it does just surprise me that she would want to work for somebody who won't let her make those decisions, if that's the case. Because I feel like she knows what she's doing a lot more than maybe other people in the football club know what they're doing with running a football club. And it just shocks me that she doesn't have that autonomy to say, that's it now, you're off, or that's it now, whoever. That doesn't seem to be the case, and that really does surprise me because I would have imagined that part of her deal for coming here would have been that she could go, right, what I say goes, because I am the boss. Yeah.
She's got some clout. I'll tell you what, Vic, it's like she's receiving a significant amount of money to be the face of the company in Daypon's Chansiri's absence. Like, it's like she's being paid to shut the fuck up.
But
like,
she doesn't come across as that person at all. And I don't. But I'm not saying this against like you three as being blokes, but I really don't think that if he'd have brought in Steve Jones from a different club, that we would be thinking that. I honestly think that she comes across.
No, I agree
as
with
a
you.
very
For a female
woman.
to get to that
and
level,
it
it's impressive.
It just surprises me.
She must
I always
be
feel
something
like,
special.
I don't know, like you sometimes feel like they must be a battle axe to be at that point. Like you think of Karen Brady, you think of, Delia Smith or whoever. They must be like some sort of arsehole to get there, which a lot of women have to be. But she's obviously done something right at some point to get to where she is. Why isn't she being given the trust now to manage this football club as a chief executive?
The men who are doing that role have to be dickheads as well, and it shouldn't really be judged by how objectionable you're going to be. The difference is that a lot of these chief execs, when you have a chairman who is away on business or away on whatever, they employ a chief exec to be the person to sit there and put their head above the parapet and face the bullets that are coming in. Catrienne doesn't really seem to. I'm not blaming her for this. I think Daypon Chansiri hasn't said to her, "You're going to go out there and try and justify all the things that I'm doing or saying." He's saying nothing, and he's instructing her to say nothing. So really, there's nothing coming out of the club whatsoever. Now, I think that Catrienne Mayer is here to do a job and not be the face of the company, such as it is. And actually, I think you've got Jos Lukai, who's there taking all the flack, and so well he should be, because he's the one who cannot get the best out of this this playing squad. When Daypon Chansiri comes back, what he generally does is breaks his silence in a slightly weird and offbeat way, whether it is dictating a statement to the official website, whether it is a press release to Radio Sheffield and the Star, or whether it is booking a fans forum. And we've had fans forums at the club, haven't we? Over throughout Daypon Chansiri's reign. This one on the 20th of December is going to be very different, isn't it? Because it's in the Octagon. It's going to be, what's the capacity there, Vic? 700, 800 people potentially?
Seated, I think you're talking, about 1,000 people.
It's 1,000.
So they go, right. So, this is effectively a town hall meeting. James, what are we going to expect from this fans forum now it's been opened up to a much bigger and, let's be honest, uninvited contingent of Wednesday fans? What's going to be said and what is going to be the message from the club, do we think?
I don't want to sound cynical, But I mean, this is interesting, isn't it? Because Dejan Chanchero's been here for a while now, and when he first came in, he tended to do these things with the steering group meetings, which I went along to a few of them. I think Vic went to a few. There's a few other people that we know and come on the podcast sometimes who've been along and done bits and bobs at those meetings, and then. That seemed to kind of die off, and he didn't seem to want to do that anymore. And he started sometimes. He did them in tandem for a while, doing the steering group meetings and fans forums. And now it just seems to be the fans forum, and they seem to have got bigger and bigger, and kind of opened up to a wider and wider audience. Now the cynic in me says that's because what will happen on the 20th is that it will start with a speech from the chairman. It will descend into some kind of chaos with members of the audience just kind of hurling a bit of abuse, shouting when it's not their turn to speak, probably arguing among themselves, and the whole night kind of goes a little bit to pot. But the club can kind of say, look, we gave the maximum number of supporters the chance to come along. It's not our fault that it didn't work out, and that people with reasonable questions didn't get a chance to ask them. That's the cynic in me that thinks that, because I've seen steering group meetings with 20 people there descend into chaos. So when you've got 1,000 fans in a room, and let's be fair, football fans have different ways in which they get their point across. They're not all going to try and get their point across in a considered, measured way. There'll be people that want to go there and probably start singing "We want our Wednesday back" at the back of the room, because that's their way of getting their point across, as we saw on Saturday with some people in the North Stand. So I don't. What I expect from it is that it will not be a particularly smooth evening. I think it will be very heated. I think we'll hear the chairman say things that maybe we've heard him talk about before. I'm not entirely sure that we're likely to get anything out of this meeting that's going to kind of make fans come away thinking, I feel better about things. I might be wrong, but it is hard to kind of guess as to how the chairman is going to go into this, what his approach to it is going to be, because I can see it being a little bit standoffish.
I love how diplomatic you're being.
Is there a chance, Fudge, that we're 9 days out from that event? Is there a chance that Dejan Chancery is going to come back? He's going to make a move and change the coach. We've heard rumours about various names, and I don't want to get into the details of whether Steve Bruce is the right or wrong person to lead this club going forward. But doesn't that put Dejan Chancery in a much stronger position if he has made a decisive move? He has he's put a new coach in place that may not be to the taste of every fan, but is clearly a departure and something different, a statement of intent. He can then go into something like a fans forum and spend 20 minutes settling scores like he has done in the past with the criticisms that have come at him, and then sit back and go, well, look, I've put my money where my mouth is, so the rest is some bollocks.
I think you're being a little optimistic there, Ed, if I'm honest. I don't think there's any way, shape or form.
Optimistic. Oh, wow.
That's optimistic. That's optimistic.
That was my pessimistic view.
I think it's optimistic that he's going to sit there flanked by a new person, because I think bear in mind, he takes this personally. You know what I mean? Because he's such a control freak, he takes this personally. I chose this person. I put this person in charge, and it's not worked out. This reflects on a bad choice by me. So there's going to be an element of belligerence around him. Now, have you ever seen, this is a weird reference, have you ever seen the episode, of course you have, of The Simpsons where they shoot Mr. Burns? And there is, and he goes, it's become apparent to me that a lot of you are sat sharpening knives. And that's what we're going to have. We're going to have a group of Yorkshire people all armed with their questions, all ready to go. Now, these questions are going to range from, what's the story with Kieran Westwood and Sam Hutchinson et al. To the Bovril on the North Stand is too hot. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be an absolute range of these questions. Now, in terms of optimism on my behalf, what I'd like is these questions to be vetted. Like they do on, for example, Question Time, where they go, you over there. They make it look like it's live. It ain't. You know what I mean? This is more rehearsed than a Frankie Howard titty ye not. So, and then I'd want to, leave the meaty questions to be addressed in the forum, and then the ones that, the Bovrils too up. We'll look into it. Tick. Next one. We'll put that as a list on the FAQs on the website. The ones we didn't ask on the day. I'd much prefer that. But I think James is absolutely right. It's going to descend into absolute madness. Now, because that amount of people, Jesus. But if Depon turns up with a new man stood next to him, he turns up on what day are we on now? Tuesday. He turns up on Thursday. He's fired the geezer by Friday morning, and then he's got a new guy sat there on Saturday. I think it's going to be wishful thinking, but what that will do is disarm a lot of the people who are baying for blood, who are ready to go. You know what I mean? Either that, it's either they've got that planned, or the bloke's insane and wants to have a fight with all the Yorkshire people, because that's what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
But like James says, he's done it with 20. I don't think that he wouldn't decide that he's going to do it with a cast of hundreds.
My
how
sort
do you
of
see it
thought
going?
on this whole thing is and don't get me wrong, I'm not his biggest fan at the moment. I don't really know where I stand with Dave Chansiri. And sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him, sometimes but I think no matter what he does on that night, he won't be right. No matter what he does. He could turn up with Sir Alex Ferguson and say, here's your new gaffer, and we'd all be like, well, you should have done this 3 weeks ago. He could turn up with fucking Paul Warne, and we'd all be like, well, he's not good enough. I don't think I don't think there's an easy way out for him at the moment. I don't think that's a judgment on us. I don't think that's a judgment on him. I think that's just, as the situation's got to, I don't think anybody has stepped in and forced him to make the right decision at the right time. I think if he turns up and Jos is still the manager, he's going to get absolutely slated. If he's brought in the best manager in the entire football world ever, he'll still be slated for not having done it 3 weeks ago. I think the guy's pretty damn brave to go into this situation, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be not an interesting night. I don't think it's going to be a fun night, no matter what, for either side.
So I'll put you on the spot, Vic. I had a conversation this week around, the way that Mr. Chansiri has always acted. And it's always been quite controlled. It's always been reliant on kind of analytics and advice and statistics, etc. We have Jos Lukai as our head coach right now because of his record in getting teams from the second tier of a major league in European football into the top tier, etc., using a certain amount of money, etc., etc. Dave Chansiri likes those kind of business metrics because he's a businessman. That much is clear. The one time that he went away from that was when and the way that he would put it would be he succumbed to the fans' desire to sign Jordan Rhodes, and that was outside the plan. Would sacking Jos Lukai now and bringing in somebody like a Steve Bruce, would that be another knee-jerk reaction? And does that show that he is feeling the pressure and that he wants to be almost liked more than respected amongst the fans?
I still have a major sympathy with him with the Jordan Rhodes thing, because I've said it before, I feel like he was being a bit of a rich dad and he wanted to give us what we wanted and to make our Christmas brilliant and to do whatever else. And it ended up, it was a shit toy that he bought us. The batteries ran out. It kept sparking every few minutes, kept running into the wall. It was absolutely dog shit. So I do feel for him on the Jordan Rhodes thing. Now I think he's got to make a change. He's got to. I think we're all in agreement on that. He's got to make a change. If it's Steve Bruce and he's not the right thing, then fine. I think it's got to the point now that we're not in a position that we can give him a few weeks and hunt around for a new manager. I think putting Lee Bullen in charge isn't a good move. Not long term, not past 3 or 4 weeks. And there's nobody else really that we can afford to bring in. I don't even know, to be fair, if we can afford to bring in Steve Bruce, if we're honest. But I think he's got to do something. And I think now it's not so much to please the fans. I think it's to not lose shitloads of money that is invested into a football club.
We're not in our wheelhouse as far as that's concerned. James, is that something that the Owls About Stat podcast would look at in terms of what the implications would be of a change of manager if we get a clearer idea of who that person might be?
There's a lot of ifs and buts to it. We don't know how much Yossi's on. Someone, it might have been the chairman, says that he's on more than Carlos was. I don't think that's true. I don't think he's on a huge wage, to be honest. And then, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that changing the manager would have an impact. Would it have a huge impact? Certainly, getting rid of Yoss, I think, is something that we can afford to do. Bringing in a manager who's got oodles of Premier League experience is going to be really expensive. That's not a thing. Anyone that's thinking Sam Allardyce is realistic, forget it. But yeah, certainly, making a change we could afford to do. But if we want to make a change and bring in someone that's a big name, we've got to sell a player.
Yeah, and you know what? We'll see what happens in January if something happens on the management front between now and the opening of the transfer window. I think we've covered two of the major stories, the major happenings in the world of Wednesday so far, and we're 3/4 of an hour into the podcast. This is the Wednesday week in association with the Riverside Cafe. Let's rattle through some of the Wednesday news now. A little bit of housekeeping off the back of the Rotherham game. Barry Bannon has now incurred a two-match ban for his booking and the culmination of all of the bookings that he's had this season. Perfectly timed, so he gets his Christmas break. He'll be back for the Borough game on Boxing Day. In other news, the youth teams, I can call them youth, the under-23s, they had veterans in the sense of Kieran Westwood, who played 45 minutes, Jus van Arken, both returning to meaningful action. The most Wednesday performance of all time. We were playing Crewe. We were 2-0 up going into injury time, ended up drawing 2-2, including conceding a goal to the opposing keeper with the last kick of the game. I don't even know what this bollocks means, but it is what it is. The under-18s have been phenomenal this season, but have lost twice, the most recent defeat being to Leeds United, who would beat us before. Youth Watch is not as interesting as it might have been, other than we've signed a new player, haven't we, today? One of the youngsters. It's another Connor, isn't it?
I can't remember his surname now. He's just he's signed on his 18th birthday. Some of the lads are all having a good time about it. It's exciting. And he's playing next to Westwood. Well, he's training with him, so that's nice, isn't it?
Right. So one bit of information, one bit of news that has happened that has, I wouldn't go as far as say it's divided the Wednesday fandom in the last 24 hours. Wednesday are opening a pop-up shop in Meadowhall for Christmas, and that's absolutely fine. That's something that any club with an eye on commercial affairs would want to do. It's a major shopping institution. There's going to be a lot of Wednesday fans walking past it. And actually, it's a destination for those who want to do their Christmas shopping, want to get some Wednesday-related stocking stuffers. Why wouldn't you do that? The one thing that is slightly worrying is that they launched this pop-up shop with what I can only describe as the most troubling promo video of possibly anything I've ever seen. Fudge, do you have the words to describe what this video is and what it represents?
You put me on the spot there, aren't you? I'm going to go with a plethora of words. I'm going to go with creepy, weird, somewhat homosexual, maybe Morecambe and Wise relationship, poor present substitute. Is what I'm going to go with for that promo video. If you've not seen it, it's a video of Barney. Oh, is that the music?
Awful, isn't it?
Glorious.
It's the scariest music ever.
Yeah. It's the music that makes it weird. It's like somebody's Googled, copyright free music, and just got, let's play that. They just click the first one they've got.
They've Googled copyright-free deliverance.
Every so often there's some sort of like symbol thing, and it sounds like there's going to be like some sort of stand-up for the key change. And there isn't at all. It just keeps going. Dun, dun.
I honestly don't get it. So the plot appears to be that that Ozzy wants a very, very nice sports car for Christmas, which, we all do, that's fine. Barney twigs this and decides that he's going to make the sports car for Ozzy. He attempts to do this by arbitrarily trying to sellotape it with wood together, and he saws wood in a way that is probably a health and safety nightmare. He realizes he can't do this, so he then does like a 5-year-old spacky drawing of a car. Gives up on that and then just buys Sheffield Wednesday Monopoly for Ozzy, who appears to be more happy with the idea of getting Sheffield Wednesday Monopoly than he did from getting a supercar, which is what he dreamed of all the way through. I don't even know. And then they end up just snuggling on the sofa, which in many ways is heartwarming, but is also deeply disturbing to children who aren't ready to deal with whatever relationship Ozzy and Barney have. I have so many questions. What even is this?
I'll tell you what, we should do that actually, Eddie. So we'll do a questions riff off. What was what are your burgeoning questions? You do one, I'll do one, because I've got a million.
Right. Number one, do Ozzy and Barney live together all the time, or is Ozzy just hanging out at Barney's place?
Right.
I've got one too.
If you know the answers to any of these, don't forget to tweet us, because we're not going to answer them. We're just going to ask you, the people, the questions. So, go. All right. My next one is if Ozzy, let's say that Barney is visiting Ozzy, right, or they're living together. I assume that's in Hillsborough, which is closer to the megastore than Meadowhall. So, what? How does that
So my
open?
question has got to be, right, so whenever he's trying to make the car out of the wood and shit, and he gets all tangled up in the sellotape and whatever, who decorated the tree? Because that's decorated really, really well in the background. And if you can't even hold sellotape, how has he decorated a tree? I just want to know, because I'd like them round next year. It took me a long time here. Just who did that?
The overall impression is that they are in sheltered accommodation. There is they're getting watched over 24/7, and basically the monopoly is an intervention. Because otherwise there was going to be some sort of horrific, right? And DIY based.
I'm really sorry, you're going to have to go into sheltered accommodation. However, and they'd sell you it, wouldn't they? They'd be like, it's got a hairdressers, it's got a bar, it's got a cafe. Ozzy and Barney live down the corridor. And you'd be like, yes, absolutely brilliant.
Massive anthropomorphic owls.
I'll tell you what, listen, I know we're being facetious, but I think it's a great idea that they've done it. And we know Ozzy, don't we? We're good mates of his, and I don't want to seem like they're taking a piss. However, do you know what I mean? With that piano music and the close up on Ozzy's eyes, he has got a dead stare like a serial killer, hasn't he? Those big, massive, great eyes, just absolutely, you're just captivated. It looks like that. What's that crap movie with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock when they're in space? It looks like Gravity. Do you know what I mean? Just in his eyes.
Yeah. But you know what? And when they have like a lovely cuddle at the end, and it's clear that it's real friendship, and that's absolutely fine. But in the back of your mind, every Wednesday fan has seen Ozzy doing pelvic thrusts to the cock. And so you just know that there's probably some actors going on in that situation. So, you know what? A lovely idea, and the only two things that are slightly weird are, number one, don't build a supercar out of wood. Number two, the music is so horrible and weird that it just seems it's scary. It's like a kind of killer clown vibe rather than anything else.
It's got like that Michael Myers kind of eyes in it, hasn't it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, a little bit of that. A little bit of that. But it's Christmas, and look, it's got a point to it, which is Sheffield Wednesday are opening a shop in Meadowhall. Some of us are old enough to remember when Wednesday had multiple emporia selling all of the Wednesday tat, and it wasn't just at Hillsborough, it was at Meadowhall, and it was at Orchard Square, and it was in the Co-op. So, I like it. It makes complete sense. It's just a slightly off-kilter promo for it. And so this is not the only commercial news that we have around Sheffield Wednesday this week, because in other shop news, Marco Matthias, obviously not getting enough of his match bonuses because he's opened up his own Portuguese patisserie shop in the Peace Gardens, promising to offer the best of Portugal's pastries and desserts. James, number one, what do you know about this? Number two, do you have a preference for Portuguese patisseries?
I actually, I have been in. I didn't buy anything, but I just wanted to have a bit of a nosy around, to be honest. I've been to. It's called Lisboa, which you have to pronounce it in the Portuguese way, Lisboa, not Lisboa. Which is Portuguese for Lisbon, which is the capital of Portugal, no less. I've been there, and I can confirm that there are loads of these little places that sell these kind of like, they're just kind of custard tarts with some stuff sprinkled on them. But I'm not a big fan of these kind of custard tart things. Apparently, they're absolutely lovely. So, it's an interesting move. I want to know what happens if he does get his contract renewed at the end of the season, though, because that, you think you're going to do it at the start of a 4-year contract, not the end. Surely, seems a bit weird.
At what point does he go? I'm gonna sack off the football and just try and expand Lisboa into different areas. Whether he goes like a Berers and he just opens multiple shops around Sheffield, and could he go national? Who knows? He could make more money than he does playing for Wednesday, surely.
Well, if we let him go, we can move him with Ozzy and
Maybe
Barney.
that's what happened.
He can help them put their Christmas decks up in Elsewhere.
I'm thinking maybe if Yoss is still doing kind of squad rotation and stuff, then João, he could probably work as a Saturday boy, at least do one Saturday in 2. He could work out there and do some deliveries and stuff like that. I don't know where this can go, because we could Sheffield, aside from Meadowhall, has been commercially, people are saying, it's on a downswing. Fargate's not what it used to be. Can we reinvigorate the high street in Sheffield by opening Wednesday player themed businesses? So Barry Bannon's deep fried Mars Bar Emporium. Ash the baker, because he could do bread. Or what about Tom Lee's cheeses?
That's the best one. I enjoy Tom Lee's.
Tom Lee's cheeses. Or you know what? It could get down to competition, because it could be Tom Lee's cheeses and then Kieran Lee's cheese, and they could be like opposite sides of Fargate. And I don't know. So it's a Wednesday week, Riverside Cafe. they sponsor. I've got no idea why they sponsor us, given the quality of the last 2 minutes. So we are almost at the end. We've got a match this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We're playing Swansea. It's a long old journey. Swansea were doing pretty well. Then they got tonked by Derby, Frank Lampard's Derby. Let's be honest. They got tonked by West Brom. They got absolutely tonked by Norwich. But then they've beaten a reeling Brentford team, who are probably the only team that's more disappointing than us this season. They appear to be Oliver McBurney and then a lot of random veterans. Wednesday are in desperate need of a win. James, can you build a case for us to go down to Swansea and win this weekend?
It's not a game that I'm particularly feeling confident about. I looked at kind of the games that were coming up a week ago, and you kind of look at the Rotherham one at home as being the one where we'd kind of be looking to get the 3 points, and maybe if we get a point at Swansea, that'd be pretty good. I don't know. I've got to be honest. I think we'll lose. I think we'll lose on Saturday. Sorry.
Has anyone got anything positive to say about this? It's the Christmas period. Can we not do better than just dying without a whimper?
I tell you what, and Vic, I know James, you wouldn't because you're too pragmatic, but I'm looking at you, Vic, and you, Eddie. Do you believe that, let's say if we had a dour 0-0 draw at the absolute best, or got spanked 5-0, I wouldn't mind, because it would be a step closer for Josh Lukai to
Sheffield
vacate
Wednesday
that chair.
to lose or draw any game. All I ever want is us to win. But then I must admit, come Saturday when we drew, I thought, it's another game that he's got away with it. So I don't want to say that I'm willing us to lose or that I'm willing us to draw. However, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I still can't physically bring myself to do it.
I honestly think games where we go down there and win 3-0 and everyone's like, brilliant, Wednesday are back, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I want. I don't know whether I want a complete performance or whether I want it to just burn in flames. So, yeah, who knows? We'll find out, won't we, in just 4 short days. Anyway, that will be for next week's Wednesday week. Hopefully, we will be in a happier frame of mind. You can tell how bad things have got when the most excited we all were was about Ozzy and Barney doing a primary school level version of play in order to sell £5 towels at Meadowhall. So it was the Wednesday week this week. James, how do we contact you on social media in between now and our next podcast?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at James Marriott. Giving this weekend a miss, actually, because I need to do some Christmas shopping. So if you're off to Swansea, have a good one.
Well, speaking of Christmas shopping, Edward.
Okay, I'm Vic.
I just
how
wanted to
do
point
we
out
get
that
hold
I've
of
been
you
to the
on
Sheffield
social
Wednesday
media
shop this week, and I've done a little list, like they do in like your women's magazines or whatever, where they say what you can find for certain prices. So if you'll all just bear with me 1 second. For £5 and under in the Sheffield Wednesday club shop. Believe me, it was a long half an hour. For £5, you can buy a blue plastic fidget spinner with the Sheffield Wednesday logo on it. For £4, you can buy a pair of junior dress socks. They have a badge on the ankle and owls on the side. For about £2 or £3, you can buy Christmas cards and wrapping paper. Yeah, thanks, Fudge. You can buy 12 balloons for £4. Brilliant. No.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly, bargain. Then we go on to
blimey,
the
chap.
£10 and under category.
That's
So obviously
30 odd
you can
people,
buy
isn't it?
the All Wednesday DVD by Matt Exton, which is fucking brilliant and probably the best thing on sale
I'm
in the whole
excited.
shop. After that, you can buy a calendar for £9. You can buy a Christmas mug for £8. If you buy that, you are
At any price.
Christmas mug. For £8, you can buy, in the words of Waitrose, an essential beanie hat for just £8. You can buy some old last season socks, old last season socks for £8. Or,
Essential.
indeed, if you wanted to go wild, you could buy a tape measure for £8. Then we go to the... I swear to God, I'm not even making this up. I wish I was making this up. Then we go to the mid-range.
When you've got some
So if you want to
measuring
buy
to
a
do,
sports
but you still
bra
wanna
for
fly
the
the
lady
colours.
in your
I love
life, they don't go up to a regular size, I'm not going to lie. The regular size, and they literally just sell that.
Yeah.
But an Elevate sports bra you can get for around £20. Yeah. No, there is
Elevate.
no elevation of the breast.
Hang on,
Do they
hang on.
all-
hang on,
Fuck's
hang on.
sake.
Right, when you say elevate, is
Yeah.
it called an...
It is.
Is it the brand Elevate, like the
It is-
sports drink?
it's
Is that what it
brand
means?
Elevate.
Because
There is no
the irony
elevate
of
of
all
the
that is
bra.
not wasted on
It's
me.
a sports bra.
That is glorious.
They have some
that's
beautiful-
fun. I enjoy that.
Absolutely stunning jewellery available between £8 and £60 from crest badge earrings to they do a stainless steel ring, and they do a bangle. They do all sorts between £8 and £60. We don't know. There wasn't a sovereign. No, sorry.
Do they do
That's
sovereign?
you.
We
You
not.
could get
We haven't had a
personalised water
sovereign
bottle,
in a
but
while.
That
Used to
was
be.
out of the range. I didn't have time to find out how much it was and whatever. One thing that, if you're feeling flush at Christmas, just as a special gift, James, close your ears because this is yours, babe. You can buy the 2013 season review DVD for just £12. Which I personally think is what an offer. Like, who wouldn't want to spend £12 on that? Brilliant. And I believe that was the season. I think that was the season we didn't score until
I'm almost.
nearly Christmas.
It cost less
So,
in 2013.
brilliant season review right there. There's three more things that I've spotted. So you can buy a lady's purse for £25. It's a long purse. It's a big purse. You can fit all your Tesco club cards and whatever's in it. Just £25. It's fucking disgusting. If anyone bought me that, I'll shove it in your face. Not interested whatsoever. However, for just £22, you can buy a garden gnome that is flying the Wednesday flag over his shoulders. If there was ever a sign of being the classiest person on your street, it's got to be being a garden gnome, hasn't it? And then the last bit that I spotted, which was probably my favourite my favourite bit of
Glorious.
my trip, was the Jordan Rhodes and Sam Hutchinson Sabutio t-shirts that were on offer from £20 to £12. So if you want to buy a completely redundant t-shirt, there you go, £12. And that is my roundup of the club shop.
Brilliant.
Ah.
So, I think we've lost Eddie, actually. I think he's probably gone off to do some skiing. So, Vic, on your social media, how we get hold of you to take a look at any of these photos
sadly,
of the
I only
Megastore,
took a photo
which
of
clearly,
the
as you describe
Rhodes
it,
and Hutchinson
sounds like the first
t-shirts
20
because
minutes of
they made
Saving
me
Private
long.
Ryan.
But you can find me at Victoria1867 on all of the socials.
It actually sounds like. Has anybody come across this this Twitter account called Cold War Steve, which is a parody of Steve McFadden leaving these post-Brexit piss ups. It's actually, if you get to see it, it's fantastic, and it's how I envisage the club shop to be, especially with the 2011 branding with Miguel Yer all over the place. Eddie is available on Twitter. He's Sausage Arms on Twitter. If you want to look at some skiing or some knob drawing with the car pictures or anything like that. My name's Dan Fudge, and
where's James?
I'm just going to take us out, take us into the theme tune. See me on Twitter @Dan Fudge, and we'll see you next week.
Keep up to date with the Wednesday Week on Twitter at TWWcast or on our website, thewednesdayweek.co.uk.